I want your calls on this. How should the duo found guilty of cutting down the Sycamore Gap tree be punished? 020 7862 2222 is the number. Tell us what you think. So they are Adam Carruthers and Daniel Graham. They've been convicted of criminal damage because they were the ones who cut the iconic tree down. It had grown amid Hadrian's Wall for over 100 years. They did it with a chainsaw in September 2023. And you'll remember how upset we all were. They then got this footage off one of their phones. So they were absolutely banged to rights. God only knows why they thought they could plead not guilty. But look at this. Who would take pride in this? And this horrible sound you're about to hear. It is horrifying. Prosecutors said they carried out their moronic mission for a bit of a laugh. They will be sentenced in July. The maximum they can get is 10 years in prison, with the level of distress caused, the value of damage and premeditation helping to bump up the punishment from a shorter sentence, which could be 6 months, or it might be just community service. So you're the judge, OK? What do you say?
Well, the first thing to say is it's a huge range there, isn't it, between 6 months and 10 years. So within that, you've got to decide everything that you've just talked about, the culpability, the intent, and obviously they were clearly intending on doing it because they filmed it and wanted to, for whatever reason.
Yeah. But just knock out a number here.
I think you've got to prevent other people doing things like this, and if it's the same applied to Just Stop Oil protesters that received a sentence of about 4 years, that was obviously that was later reduced. But to send a message to people that you can't go around doing things like this, I would say between, well, probably 3.
3 years. OK, Marina, what about you?
Firstly, Just Stop All protesters should not be in prison. Secondly, I think here, yes, there should be a prison sentence. I think between 6 months...
Protesters shouldn't, but criminals should.
6 months to a year, but I think there should be a whole long stretch of community service where they have to plant trees.
That's amazing. Do you know, my brain must be built differently because I look at that and I think,
Jeremy,
I want 10 years.
People get 4 years.
I don't care. I care about that. The comparators are not the issue. If people are being under-sentenced for other crimes, that's a different issue. No one should get 4 years for rape. But this is 10 years. Dean in Suffolk, what do you say?
Yes, Jeremy, you keep on cycling. Don't worry about those trolls.
I'm the only one here.
Right, so the tree should have lived for 175 years, right?
No, 500 years,
You divide that by 5, that's 35 years.
Yep.
So 35 years, they get out early with good behaviour. That's a good number, I think.
Well, OK, you've gone above. I was only going 10 because that's the maximum under the law. But I'm sure they could throw in some other things. I mean, they could bust them for taxes or something. They could just basically go up and down, find a number of other crimes. So Dean, we're now going. I tell you what, if you go outside what the law provides, I'll put you on the far left here. So Dean, you're going to go 35 years. OK.
Yeah, and with the planting the trees that the woman said is that community service would be good as well. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're in prison for 35 years, you're not going to do much of that. OK, thank you, Dean. Rodney in Wiltshire, where would you go with this?
Good morning, Jeremy. Well, the lady who said about the community service is dead right, but I think that she missed the most important bit out though, because the community service should be mega years of doing it, and their labour planting trees. But instead of fining them, I think they should be made to pay for the trees they've got to plant.
OK, right. So look, they've done 600 grand's worth of damage. So the state needs to say, we want £600,000 off you. And hopefully that's both their houses. But what are you saying? You're saying community service for 20 years, are you, Rodney?
Well, as long as whatever the courts decide.
No. We're asking you, Rodney. That's the point of the item. What do you...
Yes.
Right, 20 years.
Yeah, I do, yeah, punishment.
OK, not in jail, though, out in the community.
No, the taxpayers got to pay for people in jail. They should be turned around and putting some back into what they've taken out. OK, so litter picking for 20 years. Brilliant. Rodney, thank you. George in North Yorkshire. Sorry to push you on the details. George, what do you say?
I agree that it'd be a waste of time locking them up because they're just to keep. They should be made to plant 100,000 trees each for the National Trust and the National Park. They'll be that sick of trees they'd never touch another the rest of their lives.
Wow. OK, that is not a sentence the courts have, but I'm liking the cut of your jib here, George. How many trees? 100,000?
Well, yeah, nice, a lot anyway.
Well, 100,000 is definitely a lot.
I've no idea how long that would take, to be honest.
Is that each, by the way?
Yeah, each.
Good. The only thing that worries me about that, George, is I quite fancy that as a job. Do you know what I mean? To just be told to plant 100,000 trees.
Well, I think the point is that they've taken away something that is so iconic. They've taken away something that people obviously cared a lot about. Taking away their liberty and their freedom with a prison sentence, I think is appropriate.
Okay, so you're back on the prison. Okay, so not everyone is saying prison here.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
George, thank you. Gosh, people are so cross. It's a funny one, this, isn't it? Because there are some times when there isn't necessarily a human victim of a crime, but the crime is very serious. And we struggle. And I'll give you an example, the John Darwin case, where the guy breaks a canoe, throws it in the sea, and pretends he's died. And there isn't really anyone who's a victim. The guy gets 6 years. So these cases are difficult for us. Marina, are you shifting your position, or you're on?
I don't know. Maybe I'm feeling a slightly longer prison sentence.
8 months, or
I don't know, like between a year and 2. But I feel like the community service needs to be substantial, and planting.
But what would you get them to do? Because planting trees sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, but it's against their will, right? They wanted to cut down a tree and make them look like idiots when they're doing it. I mean, they're gonna. The thing is, they put. I think.
So you're going. Are you going 1 year in jail, and community service, Marina, plus serve.
Yeah.
Is right on the line. Zab, hello, Zab.
Hi.
So we've got Charlie. What? Just before you say, Charlie, what was yours? Yours was like.
I think I said 3 years. And community service as well. But I think the 3-year sentence will be reduced anyway, I should imagine. But, as a criminal record, 3 years imprisonment and...
OK, Zab, what do you want?
Hi, I think 10 years is good. And then the community service on top of that. And then on top of that, a huge hefty fine.
A what? Yeah. Well, they've got to pay for the damage, right? So that's 600,000.
Yes, definitely.
I'm doing you nice letters here, Zab. What do you think? Have a look. Do you like that?
No.
So we're going 10 years, service. After the 10 years, you come out and you do...
Yeah.
And then the fine... Yeah. And the starting point has got to be 600,000, because that's the damage.
Yes.
I just think tree pies, there's something... Can't we do something in the sewers? Because you have these fatbergs now in the sewers, which are wet wipes and congealed fat. And these poor engineers who have to go down and clear them out, send them down there. Send them down to the sewers. Maggie in Suffolk, what do you think?
I think you're right, Jeremy. Send them down to the sewers and also give them a hefty debt, and they have to pay it until they've paid off the whole lot.
Yeah.
Tough luck.
So, OK, I'll put sewers just because you and I understand each other, plus fine.
That's a large fine.
I know this thing about let's let them plant trees. That sounds like a holiday to me. What if we could do something where they never saw a tree again? Can you imagine that?
That's going to
like solitary confinement.
It's tricky, but maybe if they went to Milton Keynes or something.
Prison.
Prison, you don't see many trees. That's right. That's it. You got. It's a funny one, isn't it, Maggie? It's just so painful, the whole thing.
It is painful, yes.
And I know we're sort of laughing here, but actually you can sense the anger we've all got. Thank you. Simon has written on Facebook they should do 12 months community service planting trees, pay a fine of 10k each and issue a national apology on TV. I'm sorry, doesn't even touch the sides. Paul has said they should have to do 20 years hard labour, chopping wood. Jack, there's a lot of different... See, that's a serious thing, doing firewood. But then chopping wood, this is what they've done. That's got them into trouble. They should do Mike Parry said you could bandage the tree back up. I'd like to try and see them do that. Jackie said I'd make them plant a young, beautiful tree and they can come out of prison when it's fully grown. Brilliant. Mark in North Yorkshire. Mark, where we've got sewers, find them, community service, 20 years, plant 100,000 trees. You tell me, Mark, what's your firm word on this? Go on, Mark.
Oh, hello, yep.
Yep, what do you think?
Mark from Dundee, actually.
Hi.
Yeah, I was actually there last week. Walked past it myself and my friend were walking the wall.
Yeah.
So I saw the non-Sycamore gap, and the actual local hotel they actually have Sycamore brew. You know, they have a beer, Sycamore Gap beer. So it has affected the area, but the restaurant was still busy. And at the end of the day,
how would you punish them, Mark? Sorry.
Basically, I think the community service, I don't really think it should do serious prison time. They just cut a tree down at the end of the day.
All right, I'll leave it there. That's the counter to everything we've heard. It's very interesting to give us that thought. They just cut a tree down. After the break, it's the papers and everything else.